There we go. Sorry about that. I didn't have the microphone pushed all the way in. My apologies. Well, good. Y'all can hear me now. Hey, Francis. Bill Stanford. What's going on, everybody? Veronica, Barry Sterling, Tanya, Deidre, Just Blaze. What's going on, my dude? That was one of the kids in the program with me years and years and years ago. We ain't had kids no more. We old as hell. It's a problem. No, it's not. It's a blessing. But once again, welcome everybody with RPB. It's Tuesday, 7 p.m. I need everybody. You should be able to hear me now. Hopefully, the microphone, if you can hear me, go ahead and hit the heart, sort of smiley faces, or the thumbs up or something if you can hear me right now. So I know that you can hear everything coming through.
Give me 5 minutes. Let me try to get this. His Megastar thing is not
Okay.
working.
No problem, because it's recording.
To GS Radio Newark.
Okay.
Facebook Live. Cool.
Everybody who can hear me right now, I need you to share the video to any and every group that you are a part of. Just share it at least once, like share it on your page or something for me. And if you have a kid, or you have a grandchild, or you have nieces or nephews, or just kids in your community that you care about, this is a show that you want to watch. If you have kids that are school age, this is a show that you want to watch. The information that you are going to get right here, right now, is information that you are probably not going to get anywhere else. And if you have questions, the number to call in is 973-330-5455. 973-330-5455 to call in. Today we are going to be talking with educators in the public school system. We have one from Newark Public School, and we have one from Bronx Public School System? New York City Public School System, but South Bronx. South Bronx. See? The verses come. You just have to be willing to follow through. Don't be afraid. This is a family show. So we've been doing that. You know, the verse will come up. You know the song. It's in your head. Don't be afraid to shout it out, even in the comments. But first, immediately to my left, right on screen, is Miss Shakira Riley. And you have been a teacher for how long?
About 14 years.
Okay. And what type of teacher are you? What type of educator are you?
Well, my main focus is special education. So I'm a special educator.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I flip-flop back to general ed, but my main content area, my specialization is special education.
Okay. And the second time I left is Kiara Garrett Bay. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Okay, Garrett Bay. And would you tell how long have you been teaching?
About 25 years.
Mm-hmm. And you teach what's your specialization?
Special education, kindergarten through 12th grade, licensed in New York City. I've taught every grade except 9th and 12th.
Wow. Now, because both of you are in special education, we have a lot of kids in the systems who are classified. Let's talk about classification and what it takes for a child to become classified. I want to talk about the benefits of classification and the things that the opposite of benefits. I have a brain fart right now, so I can't think of the opposite. But obviously, whatever's the detriment to having your kid classified. First of all, if a kid comes in and they're not classified, what happens to make a teacher say, we need to test to find out if this kid needs a classification? For New York, what do you guys do?
So a parent can request that their child be evaluated on their own.
Mm-hmm.
The school has to comply and go ahead and do the evaluation, whether the child is in need of services or not. And the evaluation usually will deal with whether the
Pull your mic out.
Oh. Talking here?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
So the evaluation will usually let us know whether the child needs services or not. And then we also rely on data from the classroom teacher, behavioral observations to see if anything within the child's behavior, or if they have any illnesses or any physical ailments or any cognitive delays are impeding on the child's ability to function in the general ed classroom with the general ed curriculum.
Okay.
That's the criteria. But a parent can make a request. When a teacher or the principal makes a request, it's kind of different. They still have to get consent from the parent for testing. So everything kind of in New York falls more so on the parent.
Than the school.
But with the school, then the burden of proof is on the school in terms of the psychologist doing the testing and the teachers providing enough information and data, real data.
To support that.
Qualitative data and quantitative data.
Mhm.
Data that shows what they're able to do in the classroom, test scores, any software platforms that they're using in the school that, like iReady, we use iReady in New York, we use the Engage New York curriculum in those assessments, Teachers College running records, we have to look at everything. And then I might go get samples of student work to look and see where they're functioning. Because sometimes I'm not trying to go off topic, but I've seen kids have data that look pretty decent. Like, oh, your reading level, you're on grade level in reading. You're not doing that bad in math. Then I go pick up a writing sample and I'm like, what is this? This child's in 4th grade. This is like barely looks like 1st or 2nd grade writing. And then that's usually shocking. And then all of that goes into play. Another thing that also helps too, is if you want to get your child classified, a classification within the schools is not necessarily so there are two different things.
Okay.
You can be classified with only a couple of different classifications in the school system. Speech and language impairment, in which you receive speech services, and you have a speech impairment that's impeding on your ability to make progress in the curriculum. You might have a learning disability, which a lot of different things can fall under learning disability. Intellectual disability, which means you're very cognitively delayed and you're really struggling with just the basics. We don't have that one here. No, we have other health impairment. Now, other health impairment is very interesting because that's when the parent brings in an actual diagnosis. Like when the child's physical, they can have asthma, epilepsy, any type of disease, chronic illness. If we have documentation from a physician that you have a disability, then that can be
one of the
reason why
they get classified.
You're getting classified and you're getting services.
Okay. Now yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad there was something that you said that I know that I didn't know. It's between the diagnosis and the classification.
Right.
So a kid can come in with no diagnosis at all and be classified because of behavior or something like that wasn't picked up by a doctor.
Which is a classification.
Which is that's the category.
There's an EDD.
Right. I forgot about that one. Emotionally disturbed.
Okay.
But it's so hard to even write that. Like you have to really prove that this child.
To prove emotionally disturbed?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What we're going to do real quick, let me say hi to, first we're going to let her bring him in, and I'm going to go back and say hi to what's up everybody, to everybody who is joining us in the chat room. What's up, Victoria? Tony, my man Steve is in the room. Thank you, my brother, for joining us. If you can, stay for the show because there's some things I want to shoot out there to you as well. Everybody that is joining us right now. We are getting ready to go live on the Ustream, so give us just 2 seconds. Let me say what's up to everybody on Ustream and GS Radio and SWA Radio and Megastar Radio. We are here doing some things. We trying to handle our business. So we need y'all to share the video. Oh, just because these are educators, y'all can swear. Don't be. This is the internet. There is no constraint like that. So don't be like, oh my God. Yeah, this ain't, you're not at work.
Somebody at work.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Just count me in. Let me know.
5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
What's up, everybody? It's your man, VVSMI, coming to you on another Wednesday with RPB. That's Retired People's Behavior. What's up to everybody out there on the Ustream? What's up to everybody out there on Gyroscope Radio? That's GS Radio Newark. What's up to everybody at Megastar? What's up to everybody at SWA Radio? What's up to everybody Just Joy Media? Everybody joining us in the Champagne Room, all the deviants out there, everybody joining us from Soul Journeys. I want to say, what's up? Happy Tuesday. We are here. Now, for those of you who are just joining us, to my immediate left, we have Miss Shakira Riley, who works with what is it? Special education in Newark Public Schools. And to her left, we have Kiata Garrett Bay, who also works in special education, but she works for the city of New York in the borough of the Bronx, right? Okay, now Kiata was telling us what it takes, or what the process is for classification in New York. So if you missed that beginning, you have to go back and watch it. Because what we're getting ready to go do is we're going to go to Miss Riley and let her fill us in on the process for New Jersey.
Okay, so the process in New Jersey is fairly similar to New York because special education, the laws are federal, and then within the state, they align their laws with the federal laws. So basically all that which is said, we essentially do the same thing. If we notice something about the student let me take a step back. If a parent notices something about their child, they have two options. They can come to the school and say, I feel as though my child needs to be evaluated. And we have a child study team in place, the school psychologist, LGTC. There's a team of people who would classify and test the student in different areas to identify exactly, what the need is, what the disability, or where they may show some lack of an area. A parent can also, if they notice something, they might bring it to the attention of their pediatrician or something like that. They can outside documentation. They can be classified, which sometimes, and for New Jersey, it expedites things if they go to an outside physician and have that happen. Otherwise, if it's the parent, we look into what they're saying. But if a teacher or teachers, depending on what level they are, because believe it or not, students are classified at different age levels. And I know a district that I used to work in, they really didn't want to classify students until they were in, say, 3rd, 4th grade. And by that time, a lot of times it's too late.
Wow.
Because
what's the earliest that you've seen?
As when they're school aged, they can be classified. They can
You can get early intervention when the child is like 9 months if they see something. So
Right.
They get physical therapy. If the parent is on it, they can go to the district and request early intervention.
They do have intervention. I have a lot of friends who does early intervention with, like you said, 9 months old, very, very young.
Wow.
In terms of them being in school, and school starts at pre-K 3,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just classified as pre-K handicap at that point.
Wow.
They don't get too specific because they're still learning, their modalities and so on and so forth. So they try not to pigeonhole them. But the earlier they get the intervention, the better, because the purpose is for them to get the intervention so that they can, some actually phase out. If they get the intervention early enough, or they learn how to function with whatever disability it is. It may be, I just need more time, or, I need to hold my pencil a different way, or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
In order for that to happen, the earlier on, the better.
Now, one of the people in the chat room, Francis Parker, how you doing? She put a comment in here. I think it's interesting because some people take offense to even the suggestion that their kid should or could be classified or is classifiable. And she said her comment when I work, she said she works in the system, and if you suggest to some parents that they should have their kid evaluated, not your kid has a problem, but maybe you should have your kid evaluated, that they come at you. Have you guys experienced, like, is that an impediment to the system of having the children?
No. So some parents don't want to believe that their children may need extra help.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, you might suggest it to them. You may sit and show them the student's work. It doesn't hit them until their child starts to get left back. When their child, all of a sudden, that same parent maybe you spoke to a year ago or 2 years ago when the kid was in 1st grade, now they're in 3rd grade and they got a promotion and doubt letter. Now talk to you once the kid evaluated. So that's usually when it gets real, when they hit a testing grade.
Oh, okay.
But it's better to do it early. And here's something that really gets on my nerves in New York. Just talking about coming from early intervention programs in pre-K.
Mm-hmm.
Once a child hits early intervention age and they go to pre-K, as they transition from pre-K with a preschool IEP into school age, we have what's called the Turning 5 process in New York. That's when they assign preschool cases to the schools.
Mm-hmm.
So usually the zone schools, sometimes the kids are wherever. A reevaluation to figure out what services they're going to need when they come into kindergarten. That process is a mess in New York City. And the reason why it's a mess is because the kids are sometimes from all over the place. Sometimes the kids are within the district. Sometimes we don't have the right services to match what they might need.
Mm-hmm.
And tracking the parents down is difficult because we have that 3K for all and the pre-K for all. The pre-K for all and the pre-K for all, the kids don't have to be zoned to the school. They might just get a seat there because we have a pre-K program that has integrated co-teaching. So they might just randomly send a kid to our school that lives really far away. And then we can't really touch the pre-K diet unless the kid becomes a turning 5. So sometimes we have trouble knowing what services the kid is supposed to get in pre-K if CPSE doesn't communicate with us.
Now, what is CP?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Center for Preschool Education.
Okay.
I learned that when I first moved back up here to New York.
Yeah.
Everybody speaks in acronyms. I was like, what is that?
Yeah, you have to pause and.
Mm-hmm. After being there for a minute, it just comes out of your mouth like it's nothing. So I apologize.
That's okay.
Catch me if I do that again.
Absolutely.
But it's just been a mess. So sometimes we get kids who we think the kid's not coming to our school, and we make a recommendation that we think would be the best for the child, and then the child does come to our school. We don't have that service, and then according to the new rules, they don't give you money anymore to match the services that the child needs on their IEP. So we have to now sit with the parent and do what's called flexible programming, where we give them a facsimile of the recommended service based on whatever available staff is in the building. So that's something that they rolled out, let me see, 9-10 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So with the flexible programming, if we have a kid in our school, let's say the IEP says full-time integrated co-teaching, and we don't have that, we have to sit down and look at how many periods of the service we can actually give the kid, which is a disservice. What the state needs to do is, if the kid has a recommendation, give us the money so we can hire the staff to give the kids the services. What's the problem?
Now that's what I want to get into is how are the services paid for? How are they created in relation to need in any individual area? In New Jersey, what do they do? Like you were just talking about the flexible programming. Do they have that in New Jersey? How do they handle not being able to provide the services?
Well, you have the per pupil. Whether it's a general ed student or special ed student, but the funding for special ed students is more than it is for a general ed student.
How much more?
I wish I could pull up the
Like a pot, like about, is it twice as much?
Significant difference.
So here's the other thing that's messed up too. I only used to have like some of the classifications, I know how much extra. So if the child's in a self-contained special ed setting, it's about $2,900 and some dollars extra that the kid gets for self-contained. If the child's in integrated co-teaching, which means it's a gen ed teacher and a special ed teacher in the room, and like it's 60% of the class is gen ed, 40% is special ed. Those are the big money kids. That's like $7,500, close to $8,000 a kid extra if you give the kid that classification as full time.
So that's how they make up service. Is that how they're making up services in schools?
In Jersey, it's across the board. There's no differentiation
It's the same
in terms of if they're self-contained or inclusion.
That's the federal guy. That's federal. That's how. And then they'll say, if you make the class, so like let's say we do a whole bunch of evaluations and create an ICT class for the coming school year. That will bring in, let's say, $7,000, $8,000 times 12. Let's say we have 12 kids. Oh, look, we just brought in enough money to hire another staff member for that position.
That's what it sounded like when you were describing it.
That's the
And it's
game.
the same for ELL as well.
What's ELL?
The English language learners. So we have a high.
It's no longer ESL. It's now it's now ELL.
Now it's ELL.
When I was growing up, it was ESL. English is the language. English is the second language, and now it's English.
Language learners.
I think they just like changing shit to keep y'all confused.
All the time.
That's
Well,
there's really no other. I don't know that we have to be that specific, but what is interesting, what both of you just described, because it sounds like what you're describing is a different way that both districts are handling the of that money. When you have special ed kids and you have the general students, sometimes if there's a gap in services, I guess what they do is they take and put some more of the special ed kids in to I guess fatten the pot. It seems like, which in turn makes more money available for the general school.
yeah.
It does, but double-edged sword. So you bring in all these children with special needs into your school, and they're bringing in more money. Now your test scores go down. Now your schools fail.
Now the funding goes out on the other end.
Now you're on the list.
Yeah, so that's tricky too. But they do have an alternative assessment. For example, there's no longer PARC. Now it's the NJSLA. But none of my students took PARC. They took a test called the DLM, which is an alternative learning assessment where you test each student one-on-one. So they don't, like everybody pencils down and it's unlimited time. So you test each student individually. Subject area, let's say there's about 6. And the max you can test is 2 at a time. When there's also, they have a portfolio alternative assessment. We don't do that. We're doing a DLM. So that's another way, but my classification this year is learning disability severe. So it's supposed to be for students who are severely, they have a severe disability that they can't handle the NJSLA, like they need a lot of accommodations and modifications in order to be successful on that.
So they actually allow them to do what most kids would do in a group and a certain time limit is now a one-on-one situation.
But the test is totally
completely different. It's not the same test.
No.
Okay.
It's not even
close.
There's only maybe 10 questions on there. You're on the laptop.
How many students did you do that test for?
Only 9.
I went to the training for that, and I was like, thank you, Jesus, that we don't have any kids that are alternative assessment.
Only challenging thing about that is you're testing, like, see how you. I have you in the back of the classroom. The rest of the kids are in the class. They still have to learn and not disturb me while I'm testing that student one-on-one.
It's hard.
So is there somebody else in the class with you?
The aides.
How many?
It depends. Well, in my particular class, there's 2.
And those are really aides for they're one-on-one aides?
One of them is a one-on-one, and one is a shared aid can have up to 5 students.
Okay.
We call it the group hours.
The who?
Group.
Group
Professionals.
Group paraprofessionals. In New York, is group paraprofessionals. Over here, they share aids. Now, we gave a lot of money information and talked about how the setup is, the basic and how all of that stuff began. What I want some of you parents to know who have classified students or classified kids, or don't know what's happening in a classroom with classified kids, or the woman or man that you walk in to cuss out because your kid isn't passing, that's who's sitting next to me right now. So I want them to convey some of the things that happen in the class with some of the students, just some of the things that you may not know about that happen in a classroom. Your worst day, your worst incident, your worst situation. You don't have to give a name.
So
just
my incident was a student punching me. Well, it's a toss-up between hawk spitting on me and a student punching me.
These are your kids. Where's my camera? These are your kids, right there. Yeah, these are your kids. Go ahead.
Right. So I mean, the kids can be very extreme. They will curse you out. They will hit you. Yeah, I mean, and the sad part is the student who punched me, you know, I had to kind of like restrain him, and he's calling me a pedophile, get off of me, you this. And the kids are like, where is this coming? I'm like, go get security ASAP. And that whole thing, and then the thing is, it got all turned around because DIFUS had to be.
How big was this kid? Like, this is a male child, first of all.
Yes, it was a male. Well, maybe here to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he, his version of the story, you know, with administration was that I hit him.
Mm-hmm.
So it had to become this whole big, and that's, you know, that's my livelihood. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? A whole class of witnesses, and it became this whole big thing. And sometimes you have understanding and supportive parents, but sometimes you have parents and you say, okay, this is where this comes from. Because they come in irate and this and that, and you have to say, I always say, listen, mom or dad, I respect you, I'm a parent too. You're always supposed to have your kids back, but please take a minute. Let's sit down and have a discussion, and let's get to the bottom of this, because students don't always, as much as we believe kids don't lie and don't tell, yeah, when they back is up against the wall, I said, your son has a tendency to deflect. So when he knows it's a situation, he turns it around. So yeah, it was, and then the one who hawk spit, I just told security, like, please remove this child. And it was very much intentional. Please no, matter of fact, can you sit here and let me take a walk? Because that's like blatant disrespect. And we just need parents to really be a little bit more accountable.
I'm glad you said that, because we're going to talk to the parents.
They're in denial. Like, I have sixth graders that are on because you were saying about classifications, they're in a kindergarten, first grade reading level, and it's because you're just letting them slide through the system. You still need to do something at home. Do you have homework? Read to me. And I tell parents, they don't have to read a whole book to you. It could be just a paragraph. But you have to show that you're invested, because in the back of their mind, they feel like if you don't care, then I don't care. You can't just let them go home and be on Fortnite till 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning or on the gram. No, they need their education. They need, you know, they are our future. They really are. And so we need parents. That's a big piece. And yes, parents are in denial. They are in denial in regards, because they feel like it's some kind of stigmatism to have their child classified. And I'm not a big advocate of medication, but you have parents who they have the medication, but they only want to save it for when they're home with them. And,
What?
And they do it also because that's more money that they can receive having their child on medication. 'Cause
Yeah, you can, the
Right,
social
and
security
so-
aspect. Mhm.
Right, from so it's like I'm not a big advocate of medication. So and it's against the law. I cannot call you and say your son is turned up. Did you give him his medicine? You need to come give. I cannot do that. That is illegal. However, I had to tell them like it needs to calibrate in their system. Like you can tell the students that the parents do like a flip flop.
Yeah.
Because when it's trying to calibrate like their whole personality and demeanor, I had to say to a parent in the IEP meeting, ma'am, and she was saying, the doses, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not a big advocate, because you start giving them that medication, their system gets used to it, and you have to keep raising the dosage, right? So and organs, it's just
Yeah.
for me.
If you got the killer, if you gave birth to the killer, then
That's why I say I'm not a big advocate, but there are cases where it is deemed necessary. Like over time, I've realized, like in the beginning, I'm just like, because sometimes the parents, I can't tell you what to do and not do.
We had a student, we knew this kid was dangerous. We spoke to the parent. She really wasn't on board with giving him medication. And I'm like, okay, you don't do that, then, get him some outside counseling, something. It wasn't until he held her at knife point for $20 that she decided she wanted to sign him up for some mental health counseling and give him help.
Wow.
So that's what I mean. Like if you gave birth to the killer, like recognize it and get the child. If you didn't, maybe you didn't give birth to the killer, but maybe your child, witnessed something traumatic and it's damaged a part of their psyche to the point that they need some help. Just get the child help immediately. Don't wait. Now, as you were talking, I was trying to think of the worst 2 times I've had. There was one time where I had a kid rob a girl in front of me. This was when I had middle school. So I remember thinking to myself, I'm not about to call that girl's mother and say, I watched your daughter get robbed. I'm so sorry. I gave her some money to get home. So I did a real quick move where I grabbed the boy's hood and pulled him down so that he couldn't move for me, and I got a wallet back. It was the quick, I didn't really, and he was mad because I'm short. The short shit, was able to get the wallet back. So he started calling me out my name, calling me. I was like, whatever. I was like, sore nuts and acne. Bye.
Yeah.
So he left out. Then he went and told the assistant principal that he punched me in the face, and he told the other one that I punched him in the face. So the assistant principal later on was like, did you get punched in the face? I said, do I look punched in the face to you? No. Did you punch, the child in the face? I said, you want to look at my knuckles? No, I won't punch a kid in the face. So we had a whole, the union was involved. They got statements from special ed students in middle school. So those were interesting to read. But, because they were all, it was, so, at the end of the day, he, what was crazy was the next day, he got caught committing a robbery, like a real robbery out in the street, and he did a month in juvie. So I remember when they told me that, I was like, he shouldn't have lied on me. Like he robbed the girl in front of me. So I guess he went out in the street and did it, and now he's doing time. So in New York City, you do your little time in juvie, and you come back to the same career before. So he was back in my room a month later. And I sat him down and said, listen, let's start over. I said, first of all, I figured out that you robbed her because she broke up with you. You don't want to be the crazy dude later on that you see on the news.
Right.
That flips out because the girl
don't like you.
I said, don't be that dude. Please.
So
I've had pulled kids to the side and been like, and know them and just been like, just do me a favor. Just for me. If you about to do something that's gonna make it so that you on the news on a mugshot, just remember that I asked you not to do that. Please. Cause sometimes parents are overwhelmed, they don't know what to do. That, can you read a few hours with your kid at home? I got some parents that can't read. So they can't help their kid. So they need help from others to help their children. You know, to some parents, like, remember, we talk about teenage pregnancy. The teenage pregnancies happen and the kids have it up in our classroom sometimes.
Wow.
You know, and the parents, you know, aren't sure about being parents. They're doing the best they can. Some do an excellent job. Some struggle because it's not easy because they didn't get to finish doing what they needed to do for themselves. So it's like a whole circle. Like, and sometimes after all the years that I've been working in special ed, doing casework, I come across some stories sometimes that make me go home and just sit on the couch and eat ice cream and play a video game until I fall asleep just to clear my head. Like, I've sat in on social histories that were so depressing, like the backstory, the trauma of the family, the trauma the child endured that brought us to this point that we're doing this evaluation to get the child services. And, you know, you just, you know, you keep a poker face and you be strong for the parents.
Does New York have a trauma like recovery center? Like, for those of you who don't know, Newark, New Jersey now has a trauma recovery center. It is at 135 Prince Street. It is housed at the Hub with FP Youth Outcry, Altarique Best, Denisa Williamson are two of the people in charge. Also involved is Dr. Marilyn Cooper, who is one of the addiction specialists for RPD. Also works at the Trauma Recovery Center. They received a grant just for this purpose. And I think I'm glad you segued into that because there's so much trauma that happens, and a lot of times it's not a parenting problem. It's not that you did something or that there's a default in the child either. Maybe something just happened. It's life. Things happen. But you have to address that thing. If you have not taken, in our community, a lot of us aren't open to taking our kids to counseling. A lot of us aren't open to taking our kids to therapy. A lot of us aren't open to sitting in group or family therapy so that we can sit and heal with our children.
Right.
As opposed to sending them off to the school guidance counselor. And then you come home, your kid is resentful because you aren't there. They're learning stuff that you have no idea about. So now your kid has some new idea about life that you don't even understand. And now y'all don't see eye to eye. There's a whole lot of different scenarios that can happen. I'm saying all that to say you have to be a part of this solution.
So we have a mental health clinic at my school.
That's what I was getting. That's what the segue was.
We had to, it was part of the renewal school program, but we had to fight to get them in the building. So we have the visiting nurse service at our school. And if we have any overflow or parents that aren't able to do the visiting nurse service, we have an agency called McCluskey, which I have a good relationship with them. And I've been sending referrals there from our school also. If parents come in and they're like, they feel like they've hit a brick wall, they think that maybe there's something else that, you know, might help their child outside therapy, you know, so if I'll, you know, give them a referral.
What do you guys do in Newark? What is the system? If you find a kid who there's a trauma that they expressed?
I don't know, like, I don't recall specifically, but we do have something for students who experience traumatic type of situations. I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
But there is something in place.
Oh, absolutely. There's something in place.
Okay.
And depending on the level of what it is the different steps they'll take. For example, like say a peer passed away or a staff member passed away.
Wow.
Usually there's a team that comes in and counsels, you know, the staff or students on that level. So it's by levels in regards to what type of
what the trauma was.
Approach they take.
Okay.
But also one thing that resonated, community. Community was key. Some parents, for some strange reason, think we're against them. And we're not. We're all here to work together. We understand that there are situations that arise, and you know sometimes they don't know. But we're not out to get them. We have their children for, like I would, the after school program. So I don't leave school till 5 o'clock.
Wow.
So I have your children for an extensive amount of time, And I'm very advocate of, I want you to go back. Your parents have you in my care. When you go back, I want you to leave the same way, if not better, than you did when you came in. Like one of the little girls, the little ponytails was coming loose. I was braiding them back up, and my kids were like, "Oh, you know how to braid." So yeah, like I want you to, be neat and clean. And there's certain things that if I notice they may not be getting at home, I tell them like, "Hey, you're getting older. You deodorant and they wear uniforms. When you get home, take it off, put it somewhere where you're gonna be able to find it the next day." Unfortunately, we don't have what we had when we were in school in terms of like home economics and life skills. Health is not even taught the way that it should be.
Right.
All of those things is once they get to high school, and they need it way before high school, especially in this day and age where they're exposed to so much more because of the computers, the internet, the social media, and so on and so forth. They're exposed to a lot, but they don't really understand it.
Exactly. At their disposal, but they have no comprehension as to the magnitude of how much the use, like if you're on the game system all day, how much that detracts from your thinking, how much that keeps you from doing your homework, your housework, everything else gets neglected. Like they don't have those type of coping skills yet. So putting these types of devices in their hands a lot of times is a detriment. I'm sorry, go ahead. Kira, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
I was just saying, because like I had to have a talk with my students and explain to them, like, everything you see on TV is not real. Like if you get shot, okay, because that's real. Like the bodega is right up the street and that's real. Like you hear gunshots, you don't run to the window trying to see what's going on.
Exactly.
If you get shot, it's real. It's not like on TV where they miraculously survive and so on and so forth. All of that stuff is you have to take that stuff seriously. They don't take those things seriously. What they see on TV is different from how it really goes on in the real world.
The kids don't get that perception of death isn't real for them.
Really? I don't know. Our kids, we had a kid.
For your kids over here, now I like the fact that there's a in New York. It seems like the kids know.
Nah, they know.
Gunshots, boom, we out. Over here, they're like, what was that? Like, what the hell?
Now I drops.
Oh, well, yeah, that's your daughter.
Down.
That's your kid.
She goes to school here.
Right, but it's your kid.
But here's the thing.
So we already know better.
Like we have a lockdown, right? We have lockdown drills. I promise you, those kids will laugh and play and make all kinds of noise. And we don't know if it's real. They don't give us a heads up. So somebody really could be in the building and they be playing and doing all that. And let me tell you, teachers be extremely upset. Like, you putting my life in jeopardy because you making all this noise, you laughing and you playing and you. No, they don't take that stuff seriously.
We've had lockdowns in my building because people were shooting outside.
Hey, Daria.
Shooting outside.
Hey, Daria.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we had one a month ago.
And the kids, no. They pull it right together.
You know what?
For the most part, I mean, kids are going to be kids.
So I'm in the office. So
okay, so you're not, yeah.
But I mean, when I have seen kids, if I saw them laughing, I'm like, what are you doing? It's serious. And they get quiet. You know,
If you did that to me, yeah, I would too.
but they gotta shut it down. But then the exposure sometimes to things in the street is too much. We had a kid who was 6 that knew how to shoot dice like any old body on the street. Not doing his work in school, pulled some dice out of his pocket and was like, oh, snake eyes.
I don't know how to shoot dice.
6. And we were
but I worked at New Directions Behavioral Health Center a while back, and my boss told me find out why people are using drugs, and I was like, find out why. I just figured people get hooked because they give it a try or whatever. Every single person that did an intake had a traumatic event linked to their onset of drug use. So if we look at people who have drug problems as people who've experienced trauma and need some help dealing with it and getting through it so they can maybe be better parents.
So they use it as a coping mechanism.
Right. Yeah. Because it's not a normal thing for us to think, how about I go get some counseling and help because I don't like how I'm feeling. We'll say, what? Oh, you want that?
Thank you.
We'll say, I don't like how I'm feeling if we have pain or if we have a headache or if we feel nauseous.
Right.
We're used to saying we don't like how we're feeling when we have a physical ailment, but like, we don't link our mental to our physical. Because you could be depressed and cause all kinds of physical problems from that depression. You could have PTSD, suffer from anxiety, and it could cause chest pains, headaches. And now here you are thinking you're sick, but you're really just not dealing with, your mental. And that's something that we just don't do. Whenever you talk to somebody about, why don't you get counseling? In our community, they're like, And then what services do we have? Where are we sending them?
And then that's a question too. So if you see somebody who's going through something, to what extent do you try to help them help themselves? Because that's something we as a people oftentimes do not do.
Right.
We've seen celebrities pass away when clearly there were signs here and there, and you would think, oh my God, they got all of these people, all these family and friends, so on and so forth. They need help. So that's something we as a people need to do as well as just, sure, someone passes or something like that, you give them a little bit of time to mourn. Everybody deals with things differently. However, at some point, it's just like, hey, you know what? I hear you, but I love you, and I'm gonna need to help you. I'm gonna help you get some help because I want you to be here, God willing, another 20, 40, 50, 60 years. Don't just let them, because you hear it all the time. Like, you hear people talk about other people, and they'll say, oh, Antoine, he depressed and this and that, and he been depressed for a month now, and this and that. Okay, so you sitting here talking about him,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
but you're not going to try to help,
But then here's the thing. Help them. So in Newark right now, where are you going if you want counseling? Where are you going?
You know what I was going to ask? Are you both familiar with I think it's called the Harlem Children's Project? I think you and I have discussed it. Is that what's it called?
Yeah, the charter school.
The charter, but it's the whole thing, not just the charter school that he did,
Yeah.
but the whole situation. Are you familiar with this? There's I forget the man's name. Some of you may know who I'm talking about. I've actually talked about it on past shows. There's a guy in Harlem who began to create a charter school. But what he noticed when he did the charter school was that all the problems that he was having with the kids stem from home.
Right.
The parents didn't have food, the parents didn't have money, the parents weren't receiving X services or Y services. So he created a network to make all of those things happen, not just for the parents. If parents weren't working, he found a way to get them a job. Not just in the community or something like that, but a job that would sustain them. If the parents needed counseling, he got them counseling. If the kids needed counseling, he got them counseling. If it was a family situation, okay. Food stamps, whatever services that he saw were needed in this community is what he put in place. And I think it's the best system of education I've ever had the pleasure of witnessing.
Well, that's similar to the community schools. Like the community schools model, we have
we have community schools in Jersey.
yeah.
We do?
We do have.
And like some of the community schools may have like a medical clinic inside. Like we have a medical clinic also.
We have some in Jersey.
Yeah,
Some of them in New York used to have like a bank. I don't remember which one it was, but had a bank inside because like even in my school, there's not a bank nearby. Like if I wanted to walk to a bank to get money out the ATM, there isn't a nearby bank in the community where I work.
Wow.
So a lot of parents were just, going to the check cashing place if they got, their check and they didn't know about a bank account. And, my principal actually walked some parents. She found a bank somewhere. It was a little bit of a distance and took some parents to help them open up bank accounts. And she was like, put your money in the bank. Don't just go to the check cashing place every month. Like you'll never be able to save anything, So it's stuff like that. But then when you're an educator and you're like, we have to do all of this in order to help the child
Right.
and help the whole child by helping the family. It becomes overwhelming sometimes.
Right, because you're only one person and you have these other 20 to 30 people to look after, and then you got their parents thrown in with that. It's just a compiling
And the parents
problem.
sometimes are stressed out. They come across the counter angry, upset. Like a third of the population of my school lives in homeless shelters.
A third?
A third of the population in my school, yeah.
Wow.
So the population's transient. They need a lot of help.
We got to do something.
You know, but we have a community-based organization in our school that like we have clothes for kids. We have a food thing where like every couple of weeks the cook shop has like bags of food.
Ours
that
is
we give.
every Friday we give out food. I want to say it comes from Hello Fresh.
Yeah, something like that. Fresh Direct. or
Every
something like that.
Friday. They now have like a parent college that meets on Saturdays in my school. There's other parenting things that go on. Like there's a parent cafe on every Monday. They just had a tea with the parents that was really nice. So we do have some things, and there is a council. I just can't think of the name of it. That is for the students as well as parents that they can go to if they want to.
That's okay, because what I'm going to do, we have to get ready to wrap it up. We're coming to the top of the hour. But what I would like to do is bring you back, if that is okay.
Sure.
Okay, and what we'll do for all the things that like the services and stuff that are here, when we come back the next time, when we come back to the I'm sorry, shut up. When we come back the next time, we'll be able to give you guys some more information on the services that are available.
Oh yeah, ask Donna what
We-
services are available.
That's what I'm saying. Like when we do these, when we bring, you know, Miss Bet, when we bring Kiara and Kara back, they'll have information, and of course, then we're gonna follow it up, particularly for this area with Donna Jackson, who is now part of the Freedom Team. So yeah, it's about to go
When
down
people are
there.
homeless here in Newark, there's almost nowhere for them to go. Like families.
That's true.
So we have a couple of families in my school that are from Newark that came from the shelter because there's nothing here. When the TRA runs out, they have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
The path in the Bronx will take you. So that's where they've had to go. We've had to take people there because they had no other options.
We gonna try and get as much information to everybody as possible, you know, because we need it. And what I need you guys to do is share this video. I thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. And we are going to at least we're gonna do as many shows as we need to on the educational system. We are going to get as much information to you guys as possible. I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us, but particularly there was a comment by Francis Reed Parker that I forgot to read before the last video ended, and that comment said something to the effect of parents trying to be their kids' friends. If you can't make friends in the world that you didn't give birth to, you may not need friends. The people that come out of you are not here for you to be their friend. They need your guidance. So you need to prepare yourself as best you can so that you can guide them. I'm not saying don't be cool with your kids or, you know, have a good relationship or you shouldn't be close or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is at the end of the day, you are the parent. You are the guider.
And these kids are
The
brittle.
example.
Brittle
And
spirits.
these kids, sometimes they look like they're adults. They talk like they're adults. They act like they're adults.
They have brittle
But they're
spirits.
not. They're not.
These some of
They
the
don't
sensitive
know
kids.
what their actions are going to bring, many of them. They don't know the effects of their behavior long term because they haven't lived long enough to see it. So you have to be the person who tells them that this path is not the path. Even if they don't like it, so what?
They'll appreciate
You
it.
still have to say it though. Yeah. Like she just said, they'll get it later. But you gotta say it. If you don't say it, they'll never get it. It's your responsibility. There's a passage that says something like, if you lead the child in the way that they should go, they will never depart from it. listen, if you aren't showing them, they can't get there. But also, like Kiara said, if you raising the killer, please know that you're raising the killer.
Yes.
Please know your kid is not. If you know your
Save a
kid
life.
is killing cats or dogs or whatever in the backyard, don't. You might wanna. No, I'm serious. Listen.
Because how many, like, we've seen school shootings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how many times have the parents said they saw the signs
And didn't think
they
that
knew
it
they
was.
should've, but they didn't think this and that. No.
Get
The
them
earlier the
immediately.
intervention, the better for all.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should read the book The Anatomy of Motive. It's based on mind hunters, where these two FBI agents did research with serial killers to find out what their childhoods were like.
Need to go further. If you need to keep telling me, keep telling me.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking to you.
Finish up. Go ahead.
Oh, so in that book and with their research, they like interviewed Dahmer and some different people to find out what their childhood was like, what kind of trauma they may have endured, and they were able to come up with certain things like killing animals and how that escalates into, fire starting, all kind of stuff, like little things that can lead a kid into becoming a serial killer or, as they become an adult. So I remember reading that book and thinking, that's my mission, to make sure that if I see some signs in a child, that I give them enough love so that they know there's another path, so that maybe I'll save a life or two when they get older, and keep them from going down a path where, they take someone out. Got a couple students I keep music quiet. I just make sure they're all right, and they okay so far.
Okay. I want each of you to give a final thought to parents for tonight, like thinking about what you're gonna have to deal with when you get to work tomorrow. What is it that you would say to parents, the parents of your students, if they're watching this? What is it that you would want to say to them? Not specifically, but just in general. What is it that we can do, or I need you to do, to help me do my job better with your kids?
Well, my final thoughts to parents is a little goes a long way. So a simple hug every day, a simple "I love you," "Are you okay?" "How was your day?" Those little things go a long way. Those are my final thoughts to my parents.
Okay, I like that. You'd be surprised how many parents can't even hug their kids.
I would say to our parents that we're here for you. We got your back. We understand that life hasn't been easy. Life hasn't been easy for all of us at one point or another in time. You don't know what we've been through. And that's why we're there for you. Don't be embarrassed about whatever circumstance you have, whatever situation, because we're there to help, not judge. And we understand that sometimes when you're at the end of your rope and you're stressed out, it's hard to be the best parent that you want to be. You're not the only parent who feels that. Those of us who might be even in a better situation, maybe going through some stuff that you can't even imagine. So just don't look at us as the enemy. We're here to help. And, it's okay to have a rough moment and hit bumps in the road with parenting and just being an adult, period, in the world. It's okay. Just come in and talk to us. We got you.
That's what's up. That very, very powerful, very, very useful information, and I hope that is something that you guys can use and take with you for the rest of the week. This is DB and Samad. Thank you to Miss Riley. Thank you to Miss Garrett May. They are going to be back on here. We are going to finish this whole situation. We're going to get you guys as much information on education so that you can be a better parent for your kids, so that you can be a better advocate for your kids, so that you can be more involved in the process of getting your kids through this thing that we call life. Okay, that's all we're trying to do. We ain't trying to tell you what to do. We just trying to give you some different ways on how to do all of this stuff. You ain't got to do it the same way that your parents did it. There's some other stuff you can do. You know what I'm saying? So we about to get out of here. All right, we thank you for watching. We love you for listening. For everybody who's out there on SWA Radio, Megastar Radio, GS Radio. What am I What radio am I missing? I'm missing a radio.
Just Joy Media.
Just Joy Media. Champagne Room. Everybody out there in Soul Journeys. Much love and appreciation. I thank you guys. Share the damn video. Mother. Share the video for us. And join us next week. As always, the number to call in when you guys have questions, 973-330-5455. And make sure you share the video from the Ustream. And like our page on Facebook. Not Facebook. YouTube. That's what I'm trying to say. The YouTube channel. Soul Journeys YouTube. Is it Soul Journeys?
And GS Radio Newark.
GS Radio Newark. Like that one. Then like Soul Journeys. And then like ROR. And I think that's it for that. So do that, and I'll meet y'all back here next week. This is RPB. There was something else I was getting ready to say, but I'm gonna save that for another time. So I'll see y'all next week right here. Yes, Radio. We out of here. So.